I'd like to welcome everybody here to the town board meeting of August 14th. Could we all rise and now for our invocation, and Nancy is going to give our invocation.
God, we come before you tonight asking for your wisdom, knowledge, and discernment for those representing us to know your will for Princetown. We ask your peace and unity that only you can give. Thank you for working your will in our town. Bless those who represent us and their families. We pray, as your word says, blessed is the nation whose God is the Lord. We declare this for our town. In Jesus' name, amen.
Do your man standing for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Sandy, could you please read the roll?
Councilman Pavolli,
Present.
Councilwoman Schaefer, here. Councilman Gray. Oh, she's calling your attendance. He's here.
Yes.
Councilwoman Laura.
Yes.
Supervisor Esposito.
Present. Also present is our attorney, Gerard Parisi. Okay. Privilege of the floor. At every scheduled town board meeting, the public shall have the right to address the town board during a portion of the meeting referred to as privilege of the floor. Members of the public should restrict their comments to items of town business. Although there is no official time constraints, speakers should be considerate of others so that all interested members of the public have an opportunity to be heard. There shall be one portion of the meeting dedicated to the privilege of the floor near the beginning of each meeting. All remarks and questions shall be addressed to the board. No person shall enter into discussion with the person having the floor. Council members may address any comments during a portion of the meeting referred to as council members' comments. Privilege of the floor will open up at 7:04. Martha?
Late in coming, but I really enjoy driving up and seeing that new gateway as we come in. Makes driving up to the town hall a real pleasure, and I know what kind of work it went into getting it done. And I'm hoping that there will be other additions to it as it widens up and gets more. Have we had any more problems with trucks?
Yes.
Is that something that's going to be commented on, or?
I'll get into it when we get into council members' concerns.
Okay. Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Martha. Is there any others? Okay, we'll close the privilege of the floor up at 7:05. All right, department committee reports. George, Highway Superintendent Nick Moore Sr. is ill. He called me earlier this evening, told me he wasn't be able to attend. There's actually nothing going on other than they're going to start repaving the road sometime in later August or early September on Shagbark and Normanskill. The water, George Mead is also sick. He's got a very bad cold, and he's not going to be here tonight. Code enforcement, Tom Verini, I think he has a customer in there, so we can't get a hold of him. And our dog warden.
I got nothing. It's been quiet all month. So all's good.
Good. They did catch they had a rabid fox over on the Waynesburg Road today. The state police shot him.
How they get it?
Yeah, that doesn't concern you. I mean, as far
Nah,
as.
they take it to the health department.
All right. Thank you. Nothing else?
Nah, it's good.
All right. Thank you, Ben.
Okay.
And court, we don't have a report as usual, so clerk's office. The assessor, he's not here tonight. Buildings and grounds, we do have a problem with our lawnmower over here. I'd like to bring it up to the board. Our zero-turn X-Mark is becoming very old, and I think it's time that we hire a lawn care service to come in and take care of the grounds. We need mulching done, we need weed eated, we need shrubs trimmed, and the mower is just sent out to be repaired again. And I'd like to know what the board's feeling is. I'm getting estimates on having the work done by an outside outfit rather than us. If we have to purchase another lawnmower, it's $10,000 to $12,000, they told me, for an X-Mark. And we do have to purchase a leaf blower. That's another $300 or $400 for a steel. And I think that Harry Boley, who's been doing it, he really doesn't want to do any mulching or weed eating or anything like that, but other than cut the grass. And like I said, the mower is getting too old, and it just keeps breaking down now. I think it's in the time that we look at disposing of it, seeing what we can get for it, as putting it out, putting it in the paper, that we're looking to dispose of it. So I don't know what the board's feelings is on that right now. My personal feeling is, I think we should sub this out and hire a professional service to come in and take care of the grounds. It's really starting to look shabby out here. And that's my feelings on it. I don't know how the board feels on it.
Very easy to crunch the numbers once we get the idea of what it's gonna cost us, then we can compare the total cost. Because this, laying money out for the new machine and for all the other equipment, we just gotta find out what it's gonna cost us, and then we can figure out really what we have to do. So I think before we get that information, we gotta.
Just sent out, like I said, I talked to two outfits. I talked to one of our residents that lives up on Darrell Road. He has a lawn service business, and he's been doing it for years. He's gonna give us an estimate. And I asked one of our other town residents that does it, and he says he can't do it this year because he's too tied up, and he doesn't have the help to come in here and do what we have to have done. And I'm gonna find out if we'll get on hold of another lawn care service and get another estimate. In the meantime, though, I talked with our attorney, and if we have to do it on an emergency basis, to get somebody in here and do it, I think we can do that. Am I correct, Jerry?
Yes.
So that's what we're gonna have to do. They did repair the X-Mark, and now that it's all cleaned up, I hate to start using it again and have to have something else happen to it and bring it back up to where it's at Turnpike right now. So I don't think we should be using it any longer, and I think we should look at subbing it out. So I don't know how the board feels. If everybody feels that we should look at it that way.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to, if possible, I'd like to get somebody that lives in town
Yeah, that's what I'm.
to do it. That would be the ideal thing. But I think we do need to get a number though, to
Yeah,
find
yeah.
out.
Yeah, there's no question about that. Okay. Last night, we had another truck come in, tried to turn around in here. Although the signs are up, the barricades are up, and everybody can see that we're under 24-hour surveillance, but that doesn't seem to bother him, and he tried to turn around in the state police barracks, tore up the lawn, almost hit the mailbox. State police caught him. Everybody's got a copy of the incident report that they wrote up. I talked with the trucking company, I think they're out of Utah, and we're gonna file a claim as soon as we get an estimate on the damage that they did. He never reported it to his company, so the state police called while I was there, and I talked to their representatives in charge of their accidents. And they're gonna get a hold of me tomorrow to file a claim. And we did that with the one up in Canada, and they're up in Canada, and I kinda thought that they wouldn't, respond to anything.
Don't we
although
have a
they said they would.
weight limit on the road? Don't we have a
Yeah,
weight
4
limit?
ton.
Why aren't they getting ticketed? These things are over 4
The
tons.
sheriff's department has been ticketed.
Yeah, I mean, they
thought
gotta
that.
get a ticket for that, because at least then they have to pay the fine, because, I mean, if they don't pay us, you know, they could probably jerk us around, but I don't think they can get out of a fine if they get the
They can't,
tickets.
they can, but, they didn't issue them a ticket, they only issued them an incident report.
Well, maybe we should talk,
I talked to them.
tell them they really gotta issue them a weight limit, ticket, because that's not cheap.
No, it's not. It all depends what the court wants to fine them too, so there is a limit on how much they can charge him, but he never reported it, so they have his name here, and they told the company, state police told the company what,
Is it too late for them to issue a ticket for weight limit?
I'm assuming so. They just issued the incident report. I don't know, I'm not the attorney, I wouldn't know.
I'm not the state police, but I don't think it's too late if they want to.
I'm just saying, if we can get tickets issued, the word may get around at that
That's true.
truck stop, they may start, you know.
I don't know, these guys, the quality of the truck driver out there today is not what it used to be. And they can't get drivers, and they're just getting people that are not trained. Being in the business for 49 years, I can assure you that that's what's going on out there. But that's what happened last night, so at least they got them. We'll see what happens. We're changing the locks on all of the town hall. Jim has been working on the fire alarm system. When we put in the fire alarm system a year and a half ago, we were supposed to have Knox boxes out there already, so in case there's a fire, the fire department can get in and check all of the doors. There's gonna be one key, master key that'll open up every office, and there'll be a key to get into the building out there. So all the locks, they're not gonna be changed, just they're gonna get new keys made. One key to open all of the doors, plus separate keys to open up the different office doors. And this is a must. Jim, you want to elaborate on it a little bit?
Well, yeah, for a number of things. First of all, just statistically, I mean, our building is occupied 24 hours a week by employees. The rest of the time, essentially, this building is empty. So if there was something that happened, a fire or anything that happened in here, and the alarm went off, there's no one here to report. Right now, it's a local alarm, which means the alarm goes off, Sandy gets out of her desk and says, I better call somebody, calls 911 and they come. Now, when Sandy's not here, or our employees aren't here, we want to have the whole building monitored. So that's why we spent the extra money, we got the system built. The problem with that is when the fire department does arrive, let's say at 3 o'clock in the morning, nobody's here, they need to be able to open up every single door, because if the alarm system says that there's a problem in that door, in that building, you know, in that room, they have to be able to get in there. So that's why we're converting all the locks, so there'll be a master key. Only the fire chief will have that master key. He'll be able to come in and open up all the doors and check everything. So that's the process. It's taking us a little longer than we had hoped to get this online, but we'll have it, hopefully, by the next meeting, certainly we'll have everything working and online.
They're changing the locks tomorrow, not the actual lock, they're resetting the locks, the keys, and they're gonna have the one come in. Might add over there, you know, they come in and nobody's around here to open up the doors for them. Jim verified this, there's not a door they can't get through if they have to.
Including the front door, which, I mean, if they have to break into the building, they will. And we don't want that, obviously, for obvious reasons. So they have to get into the building, and they have to get into the rooms where the alarm is going off. So this will solve that problem. The fire chief will have a key, he'll be able to have full access to the building and every room in it.
Okay, any questions on that? All right, we all know at the last meeting over there, we purchased a truck for our water commissioner. The truck arrived, does have a plow, a V plow. He's gonna take care of all of the plowing at the at the pump stations, and I'm very pleased to say that after 19 years of him using his own vehicle, that the town finally purchased a vehicle for him so he doesn't have to continue to use his own. I signed the agreement for shared services. We're purchasing the fuel from the county, which is non-taxed. There is no state or federal tax on the fuel that's purchased. The municipalities, the county, they're all exempt, so the pump price is not the pump price. It's probably less than half of that is, most of it's, I should say probably, I don't know, maybe 60% of it is taxes in New York on fuel, federal and state and local county gas tax. So he's got a card, he can get in there 24 hours a day. It monitors the mileage he has to put in. You can't just go in there, you can't go in there like we went yesterday. You filled it up. You have to put your mileage in, he's got a key, and it registers the mileage. If he went down today to get gas, it would reject it because it knows how many gallons he used, and obviously he wouldn't need another full tank of fuel, which is good. And every month they'll send us a bill, so we should be saving on that. We applied for the water grants again. The state came out with a new water grant that we're applying for. The last water grant we applied for was through the federal government. We were rejected, but we're gonna put it in for again, the water grant on that one, and the state has one too, and we're applying for that one. That has to go through our local assemblyman or senator. We've contacted an office Angelo's office to do that, and they're working on that. Hopefully we can get something so we can get the water system up, because it's been failing very rapidly, I should say, and it usually fails. Most of our failures occur in the winter. I might add, the truck that we purchased is not out of the town funds, it's only out of the water fund. It's not anything to do with the general funds of the town. In other words, people up that don't have water service is not paying for the truck. That's being paid for out of the water fund. That's the monies that come in for the water usage and paying a water commissioner and the health. So if anybody has any questions about that, that's what it is.
On that truck, just so you know also, it's really essentially a revenue neutral deal, because the gas savings, we're treating the gas savings almost as a revenue on a balance sheet. By the time we calculate everything out, the gas savings and the savings that we don't have to pay for plowing up at the towers, when you use those as revenue sources, put them on the balance sheet, everything balances out, it's gonna cost about the same as we were paying him anyway, because we were paying him for the use of his truck by the mile, we were paying his fuel, and it also takes the ambiguity away from the risk issue. In other words, if we have insurance on the truck, it's the way it should be, it's the proper way. So, and it isn't really gonna cost us, I don't think it's gonna cost anything, is it? We did the math, it's gonna be, you know, it's almost revenue neutral relative to where we were.
I might add, the problem with the way we were doing it for 19 years is that he was paying for his insurance, using it for the town, which was not a good thing, because if he would have had an accident, he would be liable too, along with the town, because it was his insurance that he was paying for it. I don't really think that he was actually telling maybe his insurance company that he was using that, because I'm sure his rates would have been sky high if he did. But fortunately, we got away with it for 19 years, and the time has come though for us to have done that, and we did it. We budgeted for it in the last budget that we had, which was in January. We budgeted to purchase a vehicle, and this one just happened to come up. We went through all of the proper procedures, and we got it done. Let's see, other than that, There is nothing else I have on the buildings and grounds. Any questions? Okay. Public hearing. Local law modifying the town of Princetown zoning law by adopting the solar energy facilities law. Like to open the public hearing up at, I can't see it up there, Blair, 7:23.
We keep getting older up here, we're gonna have to get a bigger clock,
I know. Blair is right on there.
or a younger council.
Any takers, any comments, concerns about it?
Up to you.
I know people are probably, oh, you got a comment?
Sure.
Yeah.
Danny Proclacci from Tycos Energy. I just want to thank the board. You know, it's been a lot of meetings, late meetings, to discuss solar energy, specific meetings, to discuss the solar law. We appreciate all the time and effort that you've put into it, and we understand that by passing this, there's still a process that we'll have to go through with the planning board, with other boards, just make sure that the project is still done in a good and responsible way. So we just want to thank you guys for all your time.
Okay. Is there any comments from the town board on the solar law? While we're,
Everybody does understand that we had an attorney assisting us through this entire process whose specialty is exactly this type of thing. He's from, was he from Rochester or Buffalo? Buffalo, right? Buffalo. And he's been traveling back and forth here. We've been meeting with him. We feel very comfortable because of having a specialist in the field draft this proposal, and we feel that was a very good thing to do. He was not inexpensive. I think his fees were $400 an hour, but they were paid for not by the town, they were paid for actually by the folks that are proposing this, so that didn't cost anybody in town anything. So I think, you know, we're comfortable with that. I am anyway.
Doug, I know you didn't want to pay that guy $400. But, anything? Nicole?
I don't think so, I think I'm good. Did you get the planning board thing, Michelle?
Yes.
Okay.
Sue?
No, I'm good.
I have a question.
Yes.
Cindy Matthews. As I review this, it's abandonment. So it says after 12 months, if this is not generating electricity after 12 months, it's considered to be abandoned. So a decommissioning plan. So when they talk about a decommissioning plan, how is this farmland going to be restored back to farmland after 30 years?
What the decommissioning involves removal of
Right.
the entire,
Right, I do understand.
the entire thing.
So after they decommission it, that property is not gonna be farmland anymore.
Well, once it's decommissioned and it's been removed,
It'll
Are you
revert
talking
back
for
to.
zoning purposes being agricultural again, or are you talking about the quality of the ground?
The
in
quality of the
area?
ground. So, for example, if we have a 150 acre farm right now, that's gonna go to solar. So after 30 years from now, that's no longer gonna really be good farmland.
what's the nature of the damage? What do you, I'm not understanding the nature of the damage as a result of.
The damage is you're losing that farmland.
Yeah, but once all of these things are removed, the land is the land. In fact, I would think it would be better farmland simply because the nutrients have been restored. They've never been removed for 30 years. I would think that it would actually become better farmland,
Depending on.
more
what kind of-
productive farmland, I would think. I don't know, I mean, I'm not a farmer. Doug is a farmer. If you leave land for 30 years, does that
If you let
harm
it
it?
lay there and they gotta cut it's not gonna grow up the brush or weeds.
Right, it's
So
gonna
it's
be
gonna
maintained.
be clear land.
Right.
So you can go in and plow it and do whatever you wanna do with it.
Depending on what they do to keep the weeds down. You know,
Right, but
it's-
that process is going to be, that's coming. That whole process is coming down the road. We're gonna be working on it.
Okay, well, my concern is just having this solar companies come in and
It's
take.
not
over.
gonna be a brush pile, let's put it.
No,
that
I
way.
understand that. I'm just saying, well, how good is the quality of that land for agriculture now, after 30 years of having
If it's
these?
laid there 30 years, the nutrients are going back in the ground, it'd be better than
Probably
it
better.
would be today.
Actually, that's gonna be better
For
farmland.
me, it would be.
So this farmland will be better after 30 years of having solar on it.
Well, any land, when it
Well,
lays
you're not
fallow,
using it, so it would get better if you're not using it. If you plow it every year, or you go and, plant corn on it every year, you're taking the nutrients out of the soil.
May I respond?
yes, Mark.
Didn't we have a session that talked about the fact that there were controls about any chemicals that could be used?
Yeah, it's a watershed, it's a watershed, they can't use all kinds of.
And that process, we'll work on that process in detail when those issues come up.
So that's a large issue that borders on
I
what
agree.
we're talking about, and it's going to be seriously addressed.
Yes, of course. Did you want to say anything, Bob, did you want to say anything about that?
First of all, companies agreed not to use pesticide, just as a chemical matter. When you grow crops and use pesticide, it removes the nutrients from the ground, that's what it does. When you just leave it, all the nutrients, the calcium, the potassium that are needed, that are uptake, that are needed to grow any type of crop or trees, they're restored in the ground through rain and everything else. And so that's just gonna naturally happen when the solar facility is gonna be, 10 feet off the ground. And underneath, they're gonna have to maintain the grass and everything else that grows there. And so it's gonna literally maintain, it'll provide nutrients to the ground. In 30 years, you'll have a better area with greater nutrients to grow crops, and that's just sort of gonna happen.
So they're not using any pesticides, they're not using anything, they're gonna cut it?
They would agree to not use pesticides, and that's something that'll occur during the process where they actually file an application. That would be something that would be included in the special use permit as a condition of the permit, that they wouldn't be allowed to use pesticide. There's also gonna be maintenance requirements for them to regularly maintain the land, and cut the land, and things of that nature. And those are issues that can, the public will have an opportunity to raise those issues during the application process.
Our attorney just brought up a good point. You're welcome to come and be part of the process as we talk about this later. This isn't a done deal, it isn't over completely. There's a lot of work going into this, and you're certainly welcome to.
No, I understand that. My concern was just, hopefully this goes back to being farmland, right?
Yes, and
So I'm
probably-
looking at the overall, after 30 years, it's not gonna matter to me, I'll be gone probably, but
Oh, you won't be gone.
I'm just saying that,
You mean out of Princetown?
I'm just saying that it'd be a shame to have that farmland go away, that's the point. That's the point I'm making.
We'll be in Boca del Vista. No, listen, it probably actually will be healthier land, because farmers, that's what they do. That's why they leave fields fallow for a year or two. That's just the process.
I understand.
So I think we're okay, and we're going to be working on this as we go forward, and you're welcome to participate in those workshops as well.
Are you on the planning board?
Yes, I am.
So you will be.
As part of the approval process, they have to submit a decommissioning plan to you, and you're gonna be able to, their approval is dependent upon your board approving their decommissioning plan, so you'll be able to address address any concerns you have at that time. And it's just passing a law to allow them to apply. You know, they still have to go through that whole approval process.
Yes, that's,
And I'm not just, I'm talking about the whole town, right? I just want to make sure that the whole town isn't losing that valuable farmland, that's all.
My name is Nicole Roman. I'm Don Brooks's daughter and Don Brooks Senior's granddaughter. The reason, so I've been talking with the solar company and also my dad and everyone else and coming to the board meetings as much as possible as I live out of state. But the reason that I've been so vocal and such an advocate for this is because my father inherited this from my grandfather. One day I'm supposed to inherit this from my father, and I can't do that if there's not some way to make money off the land. What this solar project is going to do for us is it's going to allow that land to be kept as natural as possible. And thank you for using some of your knowledge to explain what's going to happen to the soil afterwards. Maybe the market will be better for dairy at that point. Maybe this country will realize that we need small farmers again, and this can be something that I can go back to what my grandpa has done for a living and what my dad has done for a living. But right now, there's no money in it. So what this does for me is that this saves it so that I can inherit it, so it can be farmland again. And I appreciate you taking up a lot of your meetings lately when I know you have other things to discuss, and hearing everybody out, all of the sides of it, because as a town, it is important to hear everybody's side.
thank you. Is there any other comments before we close? Go ahead.
Well, Tim Riley, I'm not necessarily from the town of Princetown, I'm from the town of Glen, but I do have some questions through this process. You're talking decommissioning 25 or 30 years down the road. How is that going to be funded? Is this bonded? You know, do the companies put up a bond in order to decommission this? And is it, you know, mortalized through inflation, or, you know, how does that work?
Yes, it is definitely bonded. Inflation is taken into consideration so that as time goes by and it costs more to decommission, the monies will be there. Yes, that's all part of the plan. It isn't a crapshoot. In other words, we're not just hoping that when if they were to have to decommission, that somebody would be there to pay. The money will be set aside from the get-go, right from the very beginning. And it'll be a secure, is it a bond or is it a, yeah.
Okay. Now, I also trying to recall, it was so lengthy in the paper that I read about it, was that you also requiring the company to plant what I would consider an enormous amount of evergreen trees. Is that part of this whole process?
I don't recall us discussing that, do you? About evergreen trees?
To block the,
You're supposed to plant,
Some kind of.
you're supposed to plant something.
the glare to blocking the view if it was.
The local law calls out for a perimeter buffer
Yes.
around the project, however small or big that will be.
So, who decides what type of plantings that will be established there?
Planning board. That'll all go through the planning board, then it'll come back to the town board for final approval. They'll put their stamp of approval on it at their, when the plans are submitted to the planning board. Then, the chairman of the planning board will hold the meetings, and I might say that we have two planning board members here, Doug Thorpe and Cynthia Matthews. She's here, as you know, she just spoke. They're both here. The planning board chair is not here, but they're well versed on this. Doug has worked on it for a year before we even submitted it to this attorney.
Hey, Jack there too, he would help.
And Jack, yeah, that's right, Jack worked on the law too, the original one. And then we hired an attorney, as stated before, that specializes in solar. And this is what we come up with. We made it as restricted as possible. We're not looking to have solar all over our town. We wanted to keep this as rural as possible. Everybody knows I was not in favor of this to begin with, but the town board is, and I'm certainly not going to stand in the way for what the majority consensus of the town board was to move forward with the law, so that's why we got a hold of one of what we thought was one of the finest attorneys in the state as far as concerning solar. As far as I'm concerned, we do have the best attorney in the town. So, but he doesn't specialize in solar, so that's who we hired. And we came up and we asked for him to make a law that was as restrictive as we possibly. You also have to have 100 acres or more to put solar. That kind of limits it in our town. You know, I know that in Rotterdam, theirs is a lot less. I'm assuming in Glenville, I don't know how much farmland they have there, but it's a lot less. But if you look at the one on Campbell Road over there in the town of Rotterdam, that's not 100 acres. That sits across there in the old sand pit there. That's by far not 100. What would you say that is, Doug?
We're
Maybe
down to
50 acres.
by this.
Yeah.
On the other side of the point, you have to remember that we represent the entire town. And town of Princetown is unique in the fact that we don't have a town tax. When I ran for this office, I declared that I would resign my position before putting a town tax in. The monies that we're gonna get, the town's gonna get, the revenues from this, will actually help ensure that we don't have to have a town tax. You know, inflation, prices go up, costs go up. This is one small way that we can raise revenue. So it's our responsibility for the rest of the town, every taxpayer in the town, to address every possibility of this. And we felt that that's a very important aspect towards taxpayers on the town. So that was the other thing. That doesn't come up very often, but that is a factor in all this.
I don't know if anybody realizes that we're gonna be negotiating a host agreement with the solar company to pay us every year for their ability to have a solar arrays in our town.
So is that a pilot, or will you be charging?
No, it's a host agreement.
Just a host agreement?
It's similar to a pilot, but it's.
Similar, but since we don't have a town tax, we can't do pilots.
We can't do a pilot. Pilots are
So
paid
these,
in lieu of taxes.
would it be liable for the school taxes and any other special
They're right,
districts?
that's with the county and the school district.
The school will get a substantial.
No, I'm curious if it's gonna be taxable or whether they've opted out.
As far as we're concerned, we're concerned with Princetown and what our revenue sources are and what the school district does and what the county does with them is.
But they will get something. The school and county will get
The
something.
county's gonna get something.
So this perimeter planning that you'll have around it, would that be in place of a hard fence, or would there also be a hard fence around it?
No, there's gonna be fencing around it. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any others? Yes.
John Fisher, Musclebeck Road in Pattersonville. Just want to say very briefly, thank you to the board for going ahead with this decision to move forward with a law about solar collectors. In this day and age, we face a climate crisis, and if things don't change, in the future, we could see sea levels rising as much as 200 feet. That would essentially eliminate all the cities along the East Coast, all of the state of Florida, and big swaths of the Gulf Coast, as well as other parts of the world. Solar energy, green energy, is one of the few ways that humans can get energy without putting more carbon in the air. And I think the board deserves to be congratulated for their stand moving ahead with this. Thank you.
Okay, any others? Okay, and we'll close
I
the,
would just like to comment, it seems like we've got a lot of information in this room already. And that's hopeful to somebody looking at that end of life. And I like thinking about the fact that maybe farming is gonna go on in Princetown long after the Propers aren't here anymore.
Everybody's leaving.
Oh, I'm not gonna leave them yet. My goodness.
Farming is so good, I haven't cut hay since, July 18th. I got 5 fields to cut yet, and it's so wet, I can't cut them.
Including
The
ours.
mud's that deep,
Including ours, Doug.
including yours. But yours I can cut because it's gravel. I tried bush hogging the other day, and I cut in that far, I went 2 passes and I quit. That's how bad it is. And it rains every day.
Okay, any others? All right, and we'll close the public hearing up at, check,
42,
42.
742.
7:42. I think we'll skip this next one for the time being, and we'll issuance of the negative declaration and adoption of the local law, solar energy facilities law. Do I have to read this whole thing? I suppose everybody has a copy if they want to see it. It's, there is copies on the desk, am I assuming? Sandy?
Yes.
Everybody can read, so I'm not going to read the entire thing. It'll be here till 11 o'clock tonight.
You're talking resolution 18, right?
Yes, the one below the,
Issuance of negative deck.
yes.
So if you're not gonna read it, I'll make a motion, or you're gonna read that part of it?
You've got to read that part.
Yeah, I guess we gotta read that part anyway.
Whereas before the town board of the town of Princetown, town board is a local law entitled Solar Energy Facilities Law of the town of Princetown, New York, the action and whereas the town board is the lead agency pursuant to the state environmental quality review act seeker, as it is the only agency that has discretionary approval authority over this action and whereas the town board has determined that the action type under seeker, and whereas the town board has duly considered the action and comments of the public hearing with full environmental assessment form, the criteria for determining significance set forth of 6 NY CRR 6177, the draft negative declaration, and such other information deemed appropriate. I gotta continue reading all this? No, okay.
I'll make the motion for the negative declaration.
The motion would be to approve the resolution to adopt the negative declaration and to adopt the local law.
It's both.
Okay.
Okay. Is there a second?
I see. 2 seconds.
Sandy?
Councilman Convaldi,
Yes.
Councilwoman Schaefer,
Yes.
Councilwoman Mora,
Yes.
Councilman Gray,
Yes.
Supervisor Esposito.
Yes. Okay. The law is in, and it's up to you to present your plan to the planning board. Your application goes to the building inspector first. He'll let you know what else is gonna be needed, and then he'll go to the planning board and see what they're have to say about it. I might add that we did get we sent this down to the county 2 weeks ago. My wife and I dropped it off, but apparently it got lost. And our attorney got a hold of me, and thank you for doing that, but they acted very, they were speedy on it, and they got it done within a day, and we got the approval from them. Yeah. Everybody's got a copy of it. Planning and zoning coordination referral in Schenectady County. So, approval of the proposal. We could have gone without it anyway, because we're a home rule state, but they put their blessings on it, so that's there, and everybody has a copy of it. All right, we'll go back up here to, I'd like to thank everybody that was involved with the solar. I know you probably don't want to sit through the whole thing. If you want to, you're more than welcome to. Cancellation of Princetown Water District outside user agreement.
You missed the meeting minutes, you have to go back.
Oh, that's right, yeah, we didn't do the minutes of the meeting, that's right. Thank you so much. Public hearing minutes of the meeting. Is hereby resolved that the meeting minutes of the July 10th, 2018 regular town board meeting and the July 25th, 2018 solar workshop meeting are approved or as amended. Is there any discussion?
I'll make a motion, is that what that?
I'll second.
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 Sandy?
Councilman Conbaldi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schaefer? Yes. Councilwoman Mora?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Supervisor Esposito?
Yes. Okay, cancellation of a Princetown Water District outside user agreement. This is, we authorized, I forgot his name, Sandy, but it doesn't really matter.
It's on there, Richard.
Oh, yeah, Richard Ducey. Up on Darrow Road, he's in the town of Duanesburg, he wanted water, he's the first town outside of Princetown. Now he doesn't want it anymore. We're not gonna be providing water to outside users anymore anyway, per resolution we had passed, along with not accepting any more roads for housing developments. That was one of them that we passed too, so he doesn't want to be a part of it. He never hooked up to the water. He wants to get out of the agreement. If he gets out of it, he's certainly not going to get back into it. You got any discussion on it before we vote on it?
Only thing I would know is it's contingent upon the town of Duanesburg. I think they're inclined, it's contingent upon the town of Duanesburg also canceling it. I believe they're inclined to do it, but I don't know verification.
Okay.
Anybody got a deal?
Hi, I'm Attorney Maura Ayers. I represent the Duces, and it's my understanding from Teresa, speaking with Teresa Baker, who's the attorney for the town of Williamsburg, that they're fine with it, as long as you're fine with it. So that was what she had spoken to me about.
He does understand that he's not going to get water again.
He was advised that he
Okay.
would not be allowed back in if he was out.
Okay,
Okay,
all right.
thank you.
Any other further discussion? Okay, it is hereby resolved that the supervisor is authorized to execute any necessary documentation cancelable Princetown Water District outside user agreement dated October 19, 2016, entered into between the Princetown Water District Number 1, Extension Number 1, the town of Duanesburg, and Richard Ducey. Said resolution shall be effective as of December 31st, 2018, and shall be contingent upon the resolution cancellation of said agreement by both the town of Duanesburg and Richard Ducey.
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second? Sandy, is there a second?
Councilman Conbaldi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mora?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Supervisor Esposito?
Yes. All right, we did the solar law. My page is there. Appointment of insurance broker and representative. Upon the motion, well, let's see. Let me get into this over here. Our insurance, Nymer, we were dealing directly with them. Now they want to have an insurance broker. They don't want to deal directly. We were one of the last municipalities that did this. So, I guess this is the, Marshall and Sterling are going to be the broker representing the town, not representing who we will be dealing with as far as any new policies or insurance problems we have. Everybody understand that?
There's no cost.
At no cost to the town.
Oh, it's no additional cost to the
No.
broker?
And it will be more, it really will be more convenient. Number one, they're local. Number two, once we establish a relationship with Marshall Sterling, it's gonna be actually simpler. So when we have problems, questions, concerns, that type of
By
thing.
the way, they did contact me and offered if any of you wanted to meet with the people from Marshall Sterling, they'd sit down.
Yeah, and I think we should. You know, that's my business, so I was in the insurance business. If, you know, if Lou wants me to meet with him, I'd be happy to, or Lou and I can meet with him.
Okay, I'll read the resolution then. Any other questions?
No, I'm okay.
Doug? Sue?
No, I'm good.
Is hereby resolved, effective July 5th, 2018, the town of Princetown appoints Marshall and Sterling Upstate Incorporated as the exclusive insurance broker and representative for the town of Princetown regarding all New York municipal insurance. How do you pronounce that?
Reciprocal.
Policies. The authority allows Marshall and Sterling Upstate Incorporated to negotiate on behalf of the town of Princetown all matters affecting the above captioned policy, including those that may precede this appointment. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Sandy?
Councilman Cavaldi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mora?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yeah.
Supervisor Esposito?
Yes. Purchase of fencing for the town hall gazebo. Nick Moore Senior and I went down, he made the suggestion at the last meeting. I don't know if we approved that or not, Sandy. Tentatively, was there, it was a discussion, but we never had a resolution. But you have a copy of that, is what he'd like to do is extend the fencing and add it to it. And we have the proposal there, I think it's a good idea. He's gonna do the work again, doesn't charge us for it, to put it all together, attach it to that. He did an excellent job on the other, so I think it's a good idea, but it's open for discussion.
I'm not
What's it
really,
gonna be?
I'm
I'm
not
not
sure.
sure what the area is.
Is what he's gonna do, he's gonna take those, move the fence, the barricades out, move them way over, push that in so that we can open up the gate completely, as opposed to taking down those barriers. It'll fold out into the one fence, and the other side will fold back into the other, and then you can open the whole thing up at once, so that you can have access to the entire circle, as opposed to just opening up the once and trying to move the barricades in the sand. He thinks it's a good idea. I do too, but it's up to the town board. That's why we didn't go ahead and order it. And I think,
that's the proposal that we're looking at.
Yes.
Right? The estimate from,
I didn't order it yet because it's gotta be coming from the town. If the town wants to do it, we'll do it. If they feel they don't wanna spend the money, we won't do it.
What's involved in moving those now? How much what does it take to get the stuff moved over?
Well, somebody's gotta go out there and do it. When you open up the gate over there, it's very easy, as opposed to taking down the things like I had to do, and then Nick Senior put them back up when we had the flag retirement.
Because what's out there now, it's those blacks, and then it's the, light up things, right?
Yes, yeah. As a matter of
So you have
fact,
to move
one
the blacks
fell
every
over,
time, right?
and somebody stole the batteries out of it, because the battery case opened up, and the batteries are gone now. So, I can't believe
It'd make
it.
it more convenient if we have it where it just,
Will anybody be able to open it? I mean, it doesn't require anything special that once the new one's in to open it?
Well, anybody can open it up then, as opposed to, I mean, Nicole, being size, she could open it up without lifting the bags and doing that.
Right,
It'd be
that's
a
what I
lot
was
easier
wondering,
than
it's
the
just-
way it is now. It looks pretty nice now. He did an excellent job, as anybody can see, putting it together. He spent a lot of time on it, and he didn't charge us anything to do it.
It'd be easier for emergency apparatus to get up around the circle too. There's a fire hydrant on the top of the circle.
Yes.
So, I mean, it'd be, it's easier to, if something happens, to open it up and they,
Yes.
fire truck or whatever, if it's mutual aid or whatever, that's where they're gonna draw water, as on the top of the plaza.
Yes.
we have the money for it.
Oh,
Yeah. I mean, as long as we have the money, the funds, and it's an improvement. And I think it, like Doug said, the fact that we actually might be mandated to do that we have to have access. We can't do anything that restricts access to the water. So if we're currently restricting access, we're probably not in compliance.
Well, yeah, because they gotta get out and move all the
Yeah,
sandbags.
that's really not what fire departments do. So,
It's gonna be easier to plow it,
yeah.
when winter comes, somebody can open it up, the truck can make one pass around. It's gonna be easier to maintain,
Agreed.
plus it'll look even nicer having it all.
Yes, I think so.
I think it makes sense. I'm,
As long as there's money for it and, make things easier.
Okay, is there a motion then?
I'll make it.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Sandy?
Councilman Cavaldi?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mora?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Supervisor Esposito?
Yes. This over here, I've gotta go out and get two more estimates. This contract with Empire Paving. It's come to my attention that they cannot provide county pricing for a private residence. So they raised the price on this to do this paving is what they have to do. They have to excavate the old paving. They have to pitch the thing because the water runs into the building. They have to pitch it away from the building, fix that French drain that's there, put their basin and whatever, binder and whatever else it's called to do this. And since it's not under the county contract, I was assuming it was. They told me that it's not. The only thing that's under the county contract is the roads, which the price of the liquid asphalt went from $431 to $586 a ton. Quite an increase. That was at the beginning of the year. And last year, we got the estimates from last year because that's what the county's was. Somebody's eating that cost, but and they're estimating that it's gonna go up to $700 a ton.
Was this though in their contract, this was what we were to do for the state trooper barracks, that was in their contract that we have with them for this year?
Yes,
was
we're
the
supposed to,
pavement, the paving?
yes.
Yeah.
But I've gotta get two more estimates now. I can't go on this one because it's not under state contract like the roads are. So, we're just gonna have to table this.
Okay.
Motion to table?
Yeah, is there a motion to table?
I'll make a motion, we table it.
I'll second.
Sandy?
Councilman Goldie?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mora?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yeah.
Supervisor Esposito?
Yes.
Just so everybody knows, crude oil futures are raising daily. This is the reason why this blacktop is so much more expensive. And I'm really glad that we did the amount of paving that we did do. If we had fooled around and hesitated and waited for all that paving we did up in Little Run, we'd be looking at paying double.
Well, we're still getting last year's price on that. because-
That was a good deal.
Yes.
That was a real good deal. And, you know, I'm watching the futures now, and I think you're probably gonna see a huge increase unless things reverse themselves, so.
So what we're on the schedule for the, which we already approved, was for Shagbart and Normanskill. That still leaves us part of the roads up there in Willow Run, another section that we figure we can get by this year, but Normanskill is really, they got a lot of potholes and what have you in there, so we already approved that. All right.
And
General-
one more quick thing about that. That's the other thing, when we talk about all this solar stuff, the monies that we're gonna get from this solar project are gonna help us with all these increased costs. We don't have additional revenues to cover these when the paving doubles in price. So, just so everybody knows, that's one of the reasons we wanted to entertain it.
Okay, general funds claim is hereby resolved that the town board approves claim number 145 through number 166 in the amount of $15,610.09. Discussion?
I'll make a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sandy?
Councilman Goldie?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mora?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Supervisor Esposito?
Yes. Water funds claim is hereby resolved that the town board approves claim number 68 through number 85 in the amount of $9,482.96. Discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Sandy, her second?
Sandy?
Sandy?
Councilman Goldie?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mora?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Supervisor Esposito?
Yes. Highway fund claim is hereby resolved the town board approves claim number 5 in the amount of $95.91 for sign repair. Discussion?
I'll make the motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Sandy?
Councilman Goldie?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mora?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Supervisor Esposito?
Yes. It is hereby resolved that the town board approves claim number 1 in the amount of $247.38 for the solar law public notice that appeared in the Gazette. Is discussion?
I'll make the motion.
Just so everybody knows, that comes out of the fund, the escrow. I don't know. Oh, I think that she forgot to do it the last time, charged it under the general fund.
The moratorium one?
Yeah, yeah. Is there a motion?
Yeah, we already did.
Oh, you did it already? Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm already here and there, so.
Councilman Pavolli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mora?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Supervisor Esposito?
Yes. Boy, we're moving right along here.
I know.
Council members' comments, discussion, concerns?
Our-
Any?
No, I'm good, thank you.
The security system that we're putting in service this month requires 2 dedicated phone lines. We were very, very fortunate in this respect. We were able to actually find 2 lines that we could use for that purpose. We thought we were gonna have to hire 2 more lines, which would have been a major expense, but we had the phone company here and there's, what was the one line, was it a fax line, right, from the judge's office or?
No, it was the credit card machine.
Credit card machine that they're not using.
Computer now.
So anyway, long story short, we're getting this done and we don't have to have 2 fresh lines put in, so that's gonna save us a little bit of money.
Jen? Doug?
I'm good.
I'm good too. We don't have any executive session. So I guess we can,
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
Councilman Pavolli?
Yes.
Councilwoman Schaefer?
Yes.
Councilwoman Mora?
Yes.
Councilman Gray?
Yes.
Supervisor Esposito?
yes, I'd like to thank everybody for coming, and we'll see you at the next meeting.